Hi guys, today we're going to be working on our 3D shapes and figuring out the surface area of it. So before we start, surface area, what does that mean? Well, that means the outside shape, the outside space that a 3D shape takes up. I always think of wrapping paper, or wrapping paper, so wrapping a box in paper. How much paper would I need to wrap up my box? That's what I'm doing when I'm figuring out the surface area. So basically, from what I've heard, the cube isn't too tricky, but the cuboid people are finding a little bit harder. So we'll just have a little practice of those and see how we get along. Okay, so when we're finding out the surface area of something, well, all 3D shapes are made up of 2D shapes. A cube is made up of what? Well, it's made up of 6 squares. So if we find the area of one square, we'll be able to easily get how much 6 squares is. So let's figure out the area of this square. So to get the area of a square, it's just the length by the width, or the length by the height. It doesn't really matter. A square, they're all the same, isn't it? So it's going to be 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Okay? So the area of this square is 36 what centimeters squared. Lovely. Okay, I have the area of one square. Now I need to think of my 3D shape. Well, there's 6 of those squares. I'm going to multiply my answer by 6. And forgive my poor writing here, guys. 6 times 6 is 36. 3 up. 6 times 3 is 18, and 3 is 21. And if we were looking over here, they did the exact same thing. They figured out the area, and then they said 6 plus 36 plus 36 plus 36 plus 36 plus 36 plus 36. Now, I know we're a lot smarter than this. We wouldn't add the same number 6 times in a row. We'll just multiply by 6 and get the exact same answer. So the cube should be easy, okay, or relatively easy once we get the hang of it. The cuboid, however, needs a bit of practice and needs a bit of visualization. Once again, I'm going to ask, what is a cuboid made up of? Maybe looking at this picture might help. So here I have a cuboid, and if I click on it, I should be able to manipulate it. Okay, so what is a cuboid made up of? Well, first of all, I see a rectangle. How many rectangles are there? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've written them in black writing. So my rectangles are going to be written in black writing. So whatever I do, there's going to be 4 of them. Okay? So let's figure out the area of these rectangles, and I'm going to write them in black just to distinguish from the other 2 shapes, which are the squares on the top and bottom. Just take a look at. But let's look at the rectangles first. How do we figure out the area of this rectangle? Well, again, just the height by the width, the side by the side. 6 times 2 is, ooh, that's not the color I want it to be. But 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, so 6 times 2 is 12 centimeters squared. And I'm going to draw a rectangle over that to tell me that that's the rectangle. Well, boys and girls, how many rectangles are there on a cuboid? Well, there's 4. Okay, so 4 times 12 is 48 centimeters squared. Okay, so some of you might be thinking, well done, Mr. Fitzpatrick, you're done, you did a great job. But you'd be wrong, you'd be forgetting one thing, that a cuboid is not just made up of 4 rectangles, it's also made up of 2 squares. So I've labeled them side 5 and side 6, so 2 squares. Now, what are the lengths of these squares? Well, it's not 6 because that's the height. So I'm going to scribble that out. Okay. Well, it's the same as the width of the rectangle. So it's going to be 2, and it's going to be 2 times 2. So to get the area of the square, it's going to be 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm going to draw a square. Oops, a square over that. Oh God, a square over that. to tell you that each square is 4 centimeters squared. And how many squares are there again in a cuboid? Well, there's two, one at the top and one at the bottom. So 2 times 4, which is the area of the square, is 8. Okay, so that means the squares together make up 8 centimeters squared, and the rectangles together make 48, so we're going to add them together. 48 and 8, I'm going to add on 2 to make it 50, is 56. So 56 what centimeters squared? So the total surface area of this cuboid is 56 centimeters squared. Key thing here, boys and girls, separate it into its shapes. And I think sometimes imagining it as a net can be really useful for this. So let's take a quick look at this one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out number 2 together. Okay, so the rectangle is 3 across and 7, because if this is a square, this is 3 and this is 3. So let's write it in. So this is 3. Let's try black writing. 3. Okay, so 3 times 7 is 21. So this here, this rectangle is 21. But this rectangle is 21, this rectangle is 21, this one is 21, and this one is 21. So 4 times 21 is 84. Now, we're not finished because we've done the rectangles, but now we need to do the squares. Okay, so squares are 3. Well, it's going to be 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So this is going to be 9. Oops, this is going to be 9. Well, 9 times 2, or 9 and 9, is 18. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on the 84 plus the 18, and I'll get my final answer for the total surface area. So 8 plus 84 is going to be 92, and 10 is 102. So 102 centimeters squared. Did I get that right? Let me check that in my head. So 102 centimeters squared. Okay, guys, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. But again, visualization is so important with these questions. I hope this was help. If you need any more help, please let me know. But again, just break it into its parts. Break the 3D shape up into its parts. It's so important for these. Hope you're all well, guys, and I'll see you soon.